So leaders with high EQ, they can balance those emotions with logic while they make decisions. It's not a quick fix. It's something that you need to do time and again, and you need to think about it consistently. It takes effort. You need to notice your impact on others, then adjust your approach, and then learn from each interaction, and there you can grow and develop.
Welcome to Corporate Competitor, presented by Forbes Books, the podcast where executives share how the lessons they learned playing sports shaped their leadership. With me for today's episode is Linda Gibson, the CEO and chairperson of PGIM Quantitative Solutions, a company that helps people and organizations make smart decisions with their money by using data. They manage $111 billion in assets and are part of PGIM, the $1.4 trillion investment arm of Prudential Financial. She began her career as a lawyer, but her love for math and problem solving helped her rise to the top of the finance world. And today, we're going to talk about how playing sports like tennis and field hockey, about being the captain on those teams, how those things helped her become a better leader. Now, make sure to check out corporatecompetitorpodcast.com/notes for my favorite quotes and reflection questions to help you apply today's insights. Linda, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Don. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I appreciate the time, the effort, and all that you're going to bring into this conversation, because reading up on you, studying a little bit about, listening to other things you've done and said fascinates me. So I'm ready to go. But one of the things that stood out to me was you've had major leadership roles at multiple firms, but you've spoken about this idea that EQ, emotional intelligence, is far more important than IQ when it comes to managing people. And first off, I'd love for you maybe to unpack a little of that. And then I'd maybe talk a little bit about how you developed high quality EQ.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And yes, emotional intelligence, or EQ, is something I've come to believe is the defining trait of standout leaders. While IQ is important, EQ is really what I consider the X factor. It's about that ability to connect with people, understand their feelings, respond in ways that build trust and inspire action. So without EQ, you're a bit leading blindly. You're missing the most critical part of leadership, which is the people part. And it starts with self-awareness. So if you're trying to think about how you're going to build your EQ, some people are definitely born with it, but you can build it. And it starts with self-awareness. It's about understanding your strengths, your blind spots, and how your actions impact others. So you ask yourself, are my words or choices having the effect that I want? And from there, and this is important, it's about active listening. So that's key. It's not just hearing the words, it's reading the room, reading the energy, paying attention to body language, picking up on what isn't said, and thinking, okay, what does this person need from me right now? Because that's important. And then the other piece that I'd like to talk about for a minute is personal agility. So that's the ability, it's kind of like emotional flexibility. It's your ability to adapt, think, but really importantly, balance your emotions when you're getting into heated conversations, that staying calm in the middle of change or chaos. So leaders with high EQ, they can balance those emotions with logic while they make decisions. It's not a quick fix. It's something that you need to do time and again, and you need to think about it consistently. It takes effort. You need to notice your impact on others, then adjust your approach, and then learn from each interaction. And there you can grow and develop. Over time, you will have an ability to connect more deeply.
So a big piece of what you're saying there, what I believe I heard there was that an important piece of it is just reps, right? It's getting the more time you get where you're dealing with these situations, the better you're going to get. And while that's encouraging for people like me that are old, how do you encourage younger team leaders within your team, within your organization, on how they can they don't have the reps, but how can they be as personally agile as you're suggesting?
To continue to be self-aware. Pay a lot of attention to how you're impacting others. Think about how people take in information and how people see you, and just try to look at it through their lens. And it doesn't have to be in mentoring sessions or professional development sessions. This can be in any meeting you're in. It can be in your interactions with your boss. For instance, not growing up or earlier in my professional career, I sat next to my boss. I would be very
Mm.
aware of when he came and went. And then I would make sure I would say hello. But as I'm talking to him, I would pay attention. Is he looking at me in the eye, or is he looking at his computer? Is he answering me in short phrases where he doesn't really want to talk to me right now? He's busy. He wants to have his coffee in peace. Or is he looking at me and engaging and continuing the conversation? And by just reading his cues, I learned that at 7 o'clock in the morning was a good time to come in and catch up, say hello, and really build a relationship. But if I tried to talk to him at 6 o'clock when he was heading for the elevator and he wanted to get home to do something, I could see that he barely even looked at my office. He didn't want to engage and talk at that time. There are certain people would never even notice that. They would chase him. There were people that would chase him down in the elevator and go down the elevator with him. And he just turned them off. He wasn't listening to them at that point. So it's really about noticing your impact on others and seeing how they relate to you, I believe.
You talked about understanding your strengths and your blind spots. Um, Many people in that effort to become self-aware, they struggle in this specifically an understanding of blind spots. How did you become more aware of your blind spots?
I've had to do a lot of stepping back and listening and then contributing and really holding my tongue more. But it also taught me to give people constructive criticism along the way. So when I have people working with me, and if they exhibit behaviors that are counter to how they might want to appear, I make sure to tell them that. And I won't criticize them. I'll say, you just might be aware that you're being seen this way. And I had a conversation with someone just yesterday about it, where we were talking about that person's response mechanism. If he's stressed or under a lot of pressure, he responds very shortly and he is more abrupt and rough. And I've said, just take a breath. If you're in a high pressure situation, take a breath, realize that you might respond that way, and try to be self-aware about how you go back and communicate or respond to whatever issue you're dealing with at the time. But people can really benefit from having mentors and colleagues that give them true and honest feedback right at the same time. Don't do it during the review period. Don't do it every 6 months or once a year. If you come out of a meeting and somebody is behaving in a way that you think they will benefit from some constructive criticism, give it to them right there and present it in a positive way that you're looking to help them and develop them. And they tend to take it really well. I know I take
Mm.
feedback really well that way.
In that you've spoken about adjusting your management strategies of teammates based on whether or not an employee is an introvert or an extrovert. Um, can you share an example of how maybe you tailored a leadership approach at some stage
Sure.
to bring out the best in someone in one of those two extremes?
Yeah. And it ties a little bit to how people take in information, what we just talked about a bit. But when you manage people with different personality types, it's really about flexibility. So everyone doesn't communicate or process information the same way. And that's where leadership becomes a bit of an art. So some people like swift, bold communication. I am one of those people. There's a phrase, be brief, be bright, and be gone. That is my personality type for taking in information. Send me a quick email that I can read in 2 seconds. There are other people, introverts, for example, and I lead a quant firm and we have a lot of introverts, and they prefer more detailed conversations, a little quiet time to reflect before they come back. They don't want to be put on the spot. Where extroverts, they benefit from spontaneous, interactive brainstorming, being in front of clients. And so the approach is really to provide a structure and clarity to support both needs, and then step back and allow them to process it in their own way and make sure that that avenue for feedback is one that they're comfortable in as well. So I believe that leaders who tailor their strategies to their individual personality types of their teams are going to create a much better environment where everyone can thrive and feel as though they can contribute.
A key to that though is that you as a leader have to go learn those things about your team. Um, you're swamped. You're busy. You have more coming at you than you can stand. How do you do that?
I prioritize it. Several years back in my career, I participated in a program through Mercer. They hired a company called Insights Discovery. And what they did was everyone went through an exercise and you learned how people like to be communicated to and how they like to
Mhm.
process information. So we did this exercise there, but I also brought it to my firm. So what I did was I had everybody in the firm go through this exercise, and everyone learned whether they were one of four colors. The red was the bold, be brief, be bright, be gone. The yellow was the extrovert who wanted to basically take in information and talk to people. Then there was the detail oriented person, think compliance. I want a lot of data. And then there are the other people that are green. They're the ones that actually want to do things for the benefit of others. They used an example. You get in an elevator. I'm the one pressing the button saying, we got to shut the door and go down. The blue one, the compliance one, is the one checking to make sure the inspection sticker is up to date. The yellow is talking to everyone. They have no idea that they're even in an elevator. And the green one is holding the doors open to make sure everyone gets on the elevator. And if you put it in that perspective, and then we put these dots on everyone's doors, on their offices. So when you walk into somebody's office, you see the dot and you can see how they like to take in information. And it also gives people a method to communicate with others where if they behave in a certain manner, the person taking in the information may not take offense if I send a short, what might be considered a snippy email. They're going to say, oh, she's a red. That's the way she interacts. And if someone sends me a 3-page email that I don't feel like reading all of, I'll say, that's okay. I'm going to take the time and I'm going to provide a thoughtful email back because they like to take information in a thorough, comprehensive manner. And someone's looking at how to recognize someone's communication preferences. Look at their emails. When they email you, how do they email you? Are you getting the 3-page email, or are you getting the short one that doesn't even say hello? That will give you a good indication. For instance, my email style, I'm running quickly. I usually just want to send a quick note back. No, dear Dawn, how are you? How are the kids? Sincerely, have a great weekend, Linda. It's usually, yep, got it. See you Monday. Probably not even a see you Monday. So it's really understanding and not taking really important. Don't take offense if people take in information different than you do, or if they respond differently than you're expecting. Give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that's really a key
Right.
in leading. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Generally, they have really good intentions. So trust first, verify later.
You know that this podcast deals with in each of our guests, like you, have a history in sports at some stage, and we go back to your high school years, and you were the captain of both your tennis and your field hockey teams, and so you probably in that course of there with a bunch of high school girls had an opportunity to lead a lot of different personalities. Was there a specific moment, maybe experience from that time on either the court or the field that something happened in that high school window that you still think of today?
There is. I mean, leading sports teams, even though it was in high school, taught me some of the most enduring lessons of leadership. But one specific moment, if I think about that stands out, happened during a tough stretch in our field hockey season. We were in a losing streak. And when I say losing streak, it was bad. Morale was bad. There was frustration. There was doubt. There was a sense of disconnect among the team. And part of the challenge was everyone on the team was handling it differently. Some players were
Mm.
vocal, expressing their frustrations. Others openly withdrew and they were struggling quietly. And I realized that at that point that as a leader, it wasn't about addressing the team as a whole. I needed to connect with the individuals and I needed to understand the unique personalities on the team. And instead of focusing on tactics, drills, or strategies, I decided to bring the team together after practice. And we weren't going to talk about the losses or the wins, but we wanted to remind each other why we loved the game. And
Mm.
we created space for each person to share their perspectives. And some teammates talked about their love of competition. Some opened up about their friendships and sense of belonging. Others just wanted exercise. And listening to those motivations helped me better understand what each person needed to sort of support and fuel their growth and keep them engaged. And what this did was it brought together a sense of purpose and camaraderie. And it became clear that it wasn't just about chasing the wins, it was about showing up for each other. And the turning point came in the next game, not because we dominated, because we surely didn't, but it was because we played as one. And we communicated better, we encouraged each other, and our energy on the field became contagious. And that shift in mindset, it allowed us to climb out of this slump and finish the season stronger. And the experience stays with me today because it's showing me that leadership isn't about being the loudest voice or the most skilled player. It's about creating environments for others to thrive. It's recognizing the dynamics in the group. I need to step up when I need to. I need to listen when it matters. And then I need to rally people around a shared purpose. Even when they approach challenges differently, it's really about the team. So those are the lessons that I learned probably from the court and the field about leading diverse personalities that are the same ones that I bring to leading investment professionals today.
Yeah. So let's play that forward. Let's
Okay.
play that into your investment professional world. How do you rally the troops there when you're, and what's a lesson that you might have taken from that field hockey experience?
Well, I guess it's not about winning and losing. And where we are today, we've just come through a tough cycle in our business, and we had to rally everyone together to get them to understand why they're in the business and why they want to be part of a winning team. And we had a lot of change and transformation within our organization over the past 3 years. And we have now come out a stronger, more profitable, more energized, and frankly, a better firm as a result. So a lot of that was really just communicating, spending
Mm.
time, making sure everyone understood our purpose. We communicated extremely clearly, step back, redirect, and figure out how to get them on board and how to help them understand how they can contribute.
Research shows that 80% of us believe we have a book within us, but the number of people who follow through and do the work to create that book is far, far less. The reason is that the process can seem so overwhelming. And that is why I have partnered with Forbes Books to make the process easier for those of you who listen to this podcast and believe you have a story in you. So if you're ready to turn your leadership experience into your legacy, start your journey with us today at Forbes Books. Visit forbesbooks.com/Don to get started. But I love that. I love that idea. Just as you did with the field hockey players, where you had to say, well, why do you love the game?
Yep.
Why are you out here? You had to ask your investment professionals, why are you in the business?
Yeah.
Who are you here to serve? What is it? How do we get back to that? And what that's a really powerful lesson that every
Right.
once in a while,
And
getting back to that.
we stripped it down to our roots. We started with values. I brought the team together to recreate our values. So
When was this?
it was right when I took over as CEO, which was 4 years ago. And, the first one was creating that ownership mindset. And when I say ownership mindset, I don't mean fiercely independent. I mean, do the things that you would do if you were an owner. And then we
Right.
focused around people. We focused around team. We focused around being inclusive and then client driven. We are an investment manager. So it's all about client drive. And then
Right.
we had this foundation in authenticity. I'm a very, very transparent and authentic leader, and it's almost to a fault that I behave this way, but also about integrity and respect. And so we formed those values together. And I actually am crazy about enforcing them. And if somebody is behaving poorly or against our values, I will call them into my office and have a conversation about them. And think about that. If you're, I don't know, a junior XYZ person and you get called into the CEO's office to ask why you're behaving, I called somebody in once to talk about eye rolling. They eye rolled during a meeting where we were communicating our vision. And the
Wow.
eye roll I was not acceptable to me. And this person was a senior person and many people saw it. So I brought them in and I said, okay, I'm seeing an eye roll. Why? What is it that you are not happy with? And we're not a culture that doesn't want feedback and constructive feedback and input. But if you are not providing that constructive input and you're aligning with the strategy, but you're not showing it and living it, then I want to understand why. And it wasn't about
Mhm.
reprimanding the individual as much as just understanding why. But we have also removed individuals from the organization that were toxic to the culture. And I don't care whether you're a star portfolio manager or the person that gets all the goals on the field. If you do not contribute to the culture or if you're toxic to the culture, there's just not a role for you on my teams.
Linda, one of the subjects that's been fascinating to me for a number of years now, in fact, just authored a book on the subject, is momentum. How do you capture and maybe take advantage of positive momentum? How do you reverse it if it's working against you? We've asked this question of a number of your peers, other lead executives. Do you believe in momentum?
I do believe in momentum, but I believe that you can also alter its course. So you just said the positive momentum is energetic and it rallies people together, but negative momentum you can turn around. And I was just talking about we're an asset management firm. Investment cycles ebb and flow. And that's just a part
Right.
of the business. But when you're going through, if you're, for instance, we were coming out of COVID, investment performance was challenged. We had had a bunch of turnover. So, how did we, instead of spiraling into despair, how do you turn it around? And as I said, mentioned earlier, rally the troops around a shared vision and purpose. And I think that comes to really what makes a team. So if you're really going to build a team with a shared purpose, you need to first communicate that purpose. And then you have to have clarity on where you're going and how you're going to get there, as
How you're going to
well
get there.
as what their role in the process is. So help them see the end goal. So help them see that win if you're taking it back to sports. But in professional life, have a goal, have a vision. But don't just have, I've been on teams before where they keep promising. And I was part of a team that was constantly saying, we're at the bottom of the J curve. We're at the bottom of the J curve. And I said, I'm just never going to say J curve again because no one's believing that we're at the bottom of it. Instead, let's show us how we turn around and reverse that momentum and move forward and climb. And how do you do that? So you first talk about where you're going, how you're going to get there. Yes, there might be change, but also I'm a big proponent that change is a good thing. There are a lot of people that fear change. They don't want their life to change at all. And I find that every change I'm faced with has provided opportunity. It has been good for me. And I believe all the change that happened with in our business over the past several years has helped turn that negative momentum into positive momentum. And it's incredible just seeing the energy in the firm, the excitement. Everyone's really proud to talk about where we are. Our client meetings are more exciting. Uh, just everything about it. And so now we're benefiting from the positive momentum. So as a leader, I think it's important to, when you do have positive momentum, fuel that. And when there's negative momentum, address it. Don't let it fester. I think the worst thing you can do is let negative momentum fester and get everyone having a belief that there's just no turnaround in sight. That doesn't help anyone.
When we think about leader communications, um, you started a video series for your team that I've heard is similar to carpool karaoke, right? You filmed it in your car on the way to the dog park, and I've heard about it, but I haven't seen one. But I understand it focuses on soft skills and it's helping employees kind of connect with you on a more personal level. First off, what gave you the idea? How cool is this? And I'd love to hear a little bit about how that series has impacted the company culture.
Sure. Well, it started with how do I stay connected with the team in a genuine, transparent way during a time when in person interaction was limited. So it started during COVID. And the casual conversations that you have in the hallways or coffee vanished. So I wanted to figure out how to recreate that closeness. So I was thinking about it as I was driving. During COVID, I would drive 40 minutes to meet my sister and take our dogs for a walk. And during that 40 minutes, I would often think about the firm and what was going on and how could I connect. I thought a lot
Mhm.
about how to connect with people during COVID. And so I wanted to recreate that sense of closeness. I started filming short videos. My dog Harley was next to me. They weren't scripted, they weren't polished. Instead, I shared real updates about what was happening behind the scenes. I talked about important meetings, key interactions, feedback I had with the parent company. But Don, the goal was really simple. It was to keep everyone in the loop and give them a front row seat into what the broader picture was. And it was as much about saying, it wasn't as much about saying, this is what I'm working on, but it was
Mhm.
communicating, I'm in this with you. And the
Mhm.
impact was far greater than I expected. Employees would tell me it made leadership feel more relatable, more grounded. They didn't just see me as a leader, they saw me as a person navigating big responsibilities while staying connected to them. And by sharing the glimpses into my life, I'm in workout clothes, sunglasses, no makeup, I created this culture of openness and honesty, and it worked. The videos were a conversation starter. They sparked discussions and it made everyone feel closer to the larger goals of the company. But they also felt closer to me as an individual. So I did several of
Uh-huh.
those things. I did another similar video where I was getting ready for an interview like this. I think it was Fun Fire. And one of the videos gave them a glimpse into what my at home setup was. I had clothes all over the couch. I had my notes. I had my lights. I had, trying to keep the dog and the cat out of the room. And that just made it real for them. They understood that I wasn't this person on a pedestal, that everything was perfect, that I was real. I had a real life and that I cared about them. And it was really to show mostly that I cared. I was thinking about them every morning on the way. And I have a four
Yeah.
and a half to 6 hour commute now. And I think about them during that commute as well. And so I just wanted them to know that I was thinking about them and I wanted to include them. To be clear, I am not a singer. There wasn't one moment of singing. I have a horrible voice. None of this was in verse.
No karaoke. But Harley
No
became a
karaoke.
star.
He did. People like my dog for sure. He's
But
adorable.
question, so you started this in COVID because it was almost out of necessity, if you will, right? People needed to see something. They needed to feel something. But you've continued to do these things. Okay, what you could have easily said, okay, now we're back to the office. I don't have to do this anymore. What did the experience teach you, and what did in doing it that way, and maybe what could it teach us if we as leaders are thinking about how do we kind of create a more relatable um, uh, team environment?
Right. And it comes down to when I was just thinking about your question, a lot has been said about unconscious bias. So I clearly have people that work in the offices close to me. I have people that I regularly see in their cubes on my way to the bathroom or on my way to the kitchen. And those are the people that I'll connect with. And they'll get the benefit of having me
Hmm.
stop and chat and talk about what's going on. And they learn things that way. So what I found was with the video series, I could have the same communications with the whole firm. And I didn't send it out by email because I didn't want it something that was more formal and that could be forwarded. It's Teams channel. And if people want to tap into it, they can. They don't have to. They have to make an effort to go on and see if there's a video and see what I have to say. But it's treating everyone equally. And it's making sure that the people closer to you, coincidentally, don't get more of a benefit of knowing you than the person that might actually not even be on the floor, might be working in London or on the West Coast.
Right.
It's a way to connect.
Right. No, I love it. It's so valuable and but there's work involved, and so you've gotta do that. You've gotta turn those things around, and I love it, but I think that work obviously has paid dividends for you.
Yes, it has. And I don't do them as often, and sometimes I fall out of them. I was spending also a lot of time in London. I had a week a month in London. And so it was another way to connect the London team to the US team because people would think, where's Linda? Does she never work? And and it was helpful for them to understand. I was at a client meeting. I was in London. I was with the head office. This is what I'm doing. The other thing I did that was really interesting and I got great feedback on was the day in the life of a CEO. So I did a
Mm.
hour-long presentation to my firm about what it's like to be a CEO and all the different things that go into it. And that was incredibly well received because people had no idea what I did. But not only did it help them understand what I do and what the firm's up to, but it helped them see a career path if they want to continue to evolve their career. I started with my early days and then my experience and my background, the things that were important, how I got the opportunities I got, how I took risk roles and I took new opportunities that I wasn't prepared for, and then how that ended up manifesting itself in my current position, and then explaining what the current position is. And they had no idea all the different ways that I get pulled every day. And it just made them appreciate the role more, or at least understand it, and then also understand how they could be helpful to me in the organization. So that was another very little thing that made a big difference.
I read an article where you encouraged, the next generation, those who are coming up to take risks. So that you shared some of this in that presentation is really valuable. You said you don't have to master something before you jump into it. There's an awful lot of people that feel like, oh, I'm not ready to do that. But your quote was, take an opportunity, even if you're not sure that you'll be good at it. Really powerful advice. How did you come to that, and what did and how has it worked as you're sharing that advice with others?
Sure. My entire career has been opportunistic and taking risks that I had no business taking. But to the next generation, my message simple. Take risks, especially the ones that scare you. I love the quote by Eleanor Roosevelt that says, do something that scares you every single day. And just remember, you don't need every skill or answer right now, that you can figure it out along the way. And growth doesn't come from playing it safe. Failure is a necessary step forward. It's not something that you should fear. So take opportunities that stretch you. Even if they take you down a road that you didn't anticipate. The most fulfilling careers, in my opinion, are shaped by unexpected detours. I always felt if I had a goal to become a CEO, I I'm not sure I would have gotten there. But what I did was each role I took, I made sure brought something new to the table. And even if I was afraid, I would take it. Now you have to be afraid within reason. You don't want to take something that you know you'll absolutely fail at, but believe in yourself. And failure is part of the process. So that's important, but also risk taking comes with trust. So you need to feel like you're in an environment that you trust. And so that's where leaders really
Mhm.
need to come forward and make sure that they have built this environment of trust so that people feel comfortable taking risks. They feel like they need I think leaders should celebrate sort of the lessons as much as the outcomes and make sure
Mm.
that that fear of failure doesn't hold people back. And I know every time somebody comes to me that says I've made a mistake or there was this huge error, my conversation is, did you learn from it? Okay, it happens. We're all human, but let's not let it happen again. Let's learn from it and move forward. It helps us because if we didn't have mistakes, we couldn't function. We need to learn from them.
You know, Last question. I over the 30 years I've been blessed to be in the interview space. I've asked a lot of great leaders, coaches, athletes, if they can identify one habit that they believed allowed them to separate themselves from other people, their competitors especially. So I'd love to ask you, is there a habit that you have in your daily routine, something you do every day that you think makes a difference for you, something that you do regularly?
Sure. For me, it comes down to being present. So, mindful leadership, focusing on the moment you're in, having sharper decision making capabilities, building stronger relationships, and managing your stress.
Mm,
So for me, that habit would be taking a pause in my day to reflect, to reset and recharge. It might be a walk with my dog. It might be mindful breathing. It could be stepping away from just the general chaos. And those pauses are really powerful for me. I also draw on the principles of the blue zone. So sleep for
mm,
me is non-negotiable. I don't function well if I don't sleep, and I prioritize it. It's really important. Genuine connections, both at work and at home. So I so what does that mean? That means prioritizing your friendships and building friendships both at work and at home. And
mm.
also self care. I believe that that helps me show up for others. So every single day, I cold plunge. We have a cold plunge in our house.
Oh,
We have
wow.
I know we have a sauna, and I work out regularly. I even have what's called a sleep eight mattress to help regulate my sleep. And I'm just, when I prioritize mindfulness, health, and relationships, I'm not just a better leader, I'm actually a better person. And
Yeah.
so those habits compound over time, and they've made a really big impact on my leadership and how I show up, not just to work, but to my friends and my family.
Linda Gibson, a lot of this conversation has been about opportunities, giving people opportunities, taking opportunities for yourself. I want to thank you for the opportunity that we had to get to
No,
know
thank
you,
you.
that I got to know you better today. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining and being a corporate competitor with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had a great time. It's been a really fun conversation.
Fascinated by Linda. I was in advance. I'm more so now. What a great leader. And there were so many nuggets, so many nuggets. Hard to pick a few, but I did. The first is I love that entire discussion about the importance of EQ. She called it the defining trait, the X factor in any great leader is their EQ, their ability to read others, to read rooms. She called it far more important than IQ. One thing that she and I discussed was that whole idea about AI may come for your IQ, right? It may replace your knowledge base, but it will never be able to compete with your EQ. So develop that skill set, develop that trait as we grow as leaders. The second great takeaway for me was that fun field hockey story, right? The idea that they're getting clubbed, they're getting beaten regularly, and everybody was kind of going in different directions. So she, as the captain, went and polled them all individually, asking them, "Why do you love the game? Why are you out here?" And then reminding them that we have to get back to our love of that. And today, she does something similar when things are not well in the investment world. She brings her employees together and reminds them, right? Why are we in this business? Why are you in this business? Bringing people back to their core is a great way to manage the ups and downs of life and business. The third great takeaway for me was when she came in as CEO and she talked about rewriting the values, right? The idea of bringing everyone together and saying, let's establish what do we stand for? And she talked about standing for an ownership mentality, right? That concept that she wanted everybody. One of the new values was everybody was going to act like an owner. But then she said something really important. She became crazy about enforcing those values, and made it really important, and to the place where when she was in a meeting and she saw a leader offer an eye roll during the middle of a discussion about something, she called that leader in and addressed it right away. asked questions, tried to figure it out, making sure that people understood that if we're going to declare that a value, we're going to live to it. And then finally, my fourth great takeaway was this idea about creating unique ways to communicate with your team, especially since emails are short and sweet for her. Um, I love that red dot idea. But she wanted everyone to have access to informal communication. So she started videos on the way to the dog park with Harley. What a great conversation! What a great starter, and what a great way for people to get to know her, and provide opportunities for people all across the enterprise to know their CEO better. Consider something similar if you're looking at ways to build your team morale. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch all these interviews as well as listen to them. It's meaningful to us, and if you have a comment in that YouTube video and you post it, I'll respond. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you took the time today. I appreciate you.